Today I'm going to show you how I like to put together the lining and backing for a finished stocking top. This is one that's all ready to be lined and the backing added to it. I always leave as much of the kit backing uncut as I can, and I usually mark it and store it away because of course it takes a while to get a stocking done. So I've taken the liberty of I've decided this backing won't work as a backing, it's going to work as a lining for my stocking. So and that's mostly because the size of the stocking when it was finished just didn't add up to the kit size one that they gave me. So I've taken a Sharpie marker and I've outlined a new outline for the stocking that's finished, the stocking top, and I'm going to trim about 1/4 of an inch inside the black Sharpie mark that I made. So as you can see, I've trimmed it off 1/4 of an inch from that black line, and I still may trim some more off. You can always trim more off, but you can't add, so I usually take this part pretty slow. So you could still see some of the printed line on this side, but it doesn't matter because I'm flipping it over. No one will ever see that. And I'm going to hand tack this lining to the top side with invisible stitches. And just to prove that it can be done, I was going to show you another stocking that's completed. I've gotten my backing on, and I've hand stitched the lining on. I did a white lining with this one, and you cannot even see it on the front of the stocking where I added that on, but it's actually stitched on the inside 1/4 of an inch in. So it does not catch in the final stitching that we do to add the backing and the front side together. As I was preparing the lining, pinning it to the back side, I realized this stocking has stitching all the way up to the top edge of the stocking. And the purpose of putting this lining on is twofold. It kind of covers up any little messes you have. Well, it's threefold. It makes the stocking more sturdy. I actually use my stockings. I hang them up. Presents and goodies are put inside them. They're very sturdy. This will keep, when somebody puts their hand in the stocking, this keeps them from snagging into any of your threads from the work that you did on the front side. So it's very important to add some kind of lining to the stocking. There are videos on the internet that you can find about doing a satin stocking lining, and those are very good. A lot of people like to do that. They're very pretty. I just have found over the years that I like to do felt. So I thought about having that stitching up here along the edge, so I moved the top of the lining up farther to try and help cover that up because I'm trying to protect the stitching, the knots and everything that I've done. And right here I've started my whip stitch or applique stitch. It's the same stitch that you did to put all the appliques on, but I'm not digging all the way to the back side of the front of the stocking, and I'm using a thread that matches this color of the stocking, the background of this color. So you just want to check every now and then and make sure that your stitches are not showing. You're just barely hooking into the felt from the back side, not all the way to the front. Okay, I have finished sewing on the lining to the front side, the back side of the front piece of the stocking. I've done my little whip stitch all the way around. It's completely enclosed. There's no open part to it at all. From the front side, you maybe can see a little pucker type action here and there, a little ridge. Once I sew the backing to this, that will really not be noticeable at all. I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you how I initially finished my stockings when I first started doing this. This is a stocking that I made at least 15 years ago. It's one that has hung on the mantle every year, and it's in great shape. But I started out by lining these with an adhesive backed felt. And it was very easy at the end just to peel this off and stick it to the back side of the front piece. But after years, it got loose. It doesn't stick anymore. So I don't recommend that anymore. And of course, adhesives have chemicals in them, so it's not really a good idea, but I thought it was a great idea a long time ago. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. I also thought I'd show you the evolution my stitching has taken in the last 20 years since I started making these. I didn't stuff very often, and a lot of times the directions don't tell you to stuff very often. I now stuff a lot more. Hopefully you can see the difference in the dimensions that you get the more you stuff the stocking. I just really think it makes the stocking pop a lot more. I'll pull out a few more of the newer ones. Although this one, oh, this one has the lining like I do now, so that's good. You can see my stitches here. And when the background changes color, such as here, you have a green, and then it goes to blue up here, I would switch my thread color when working that lining piece in on the back side, just to make that come out a little bit better. Okay, I would stuff this more now too. I've really picked up on the stuffing. So I'm going to add a backing piece now, and I buy felt by the yard at Joann's or Hancock's, whatever kind of fabric store you can find. I keep it in several colors, different colors of blues, whites, very commonly used, and greens and reds. So I'll cut out a rough shape of what I need, and I'm going to come back and pin this stocking to the fabric. And at this point you can try and trace with some kind of marking device. You have to be very careful that you mark far enough outside so that when you trim, that line won't show, especially if you're using like a Sharpie marker. A lot of times I just pin and trim carefully with my scissors right to it. So I'll do that, and then we will start to sew the two pieces together. Okay, I decided it was time to try and actually show some of the stitching as I'm doing it. So I've trimmed the back piece, and now I'm going to stitch it on. So I've started up here, I've anchored my thread. I'm using a thread that matches the front side of the stocking, and I'm trying very hard to do a nice stitch that bites in to the felt on the back side. I hope you can see that. The colors are awfully similar to each other. And I've got a little knot here from the embroidery work. I'm going to make sure that gets buried in my stitch area. That's why I'm taking a little extra time to get it right. So it's our basic applique or whip stitch, but I'm just trying to keep both sides very even. Again, I'm wanting to catch that embroidery work knot behind there for that piece. And I will do this all the way around. Alright, just a few more pointers on stitching. I'm getting to a point where there's a piece of the stocking that bumps out beyond the edge. So I just catch the back side like I normally would, and then just to the front of that felt. This should be pretty easy after all the expert stitching you've done on your stocking. Now we're going to meet back to the front. Whoops, sorry about that. Trying to bring it closer to me, and I don't know if you can see it. I'm not going to catch this free floating arm in my work, I'm going to leave that loose. So think about those kinds of things while you're stitching. And we'll keep going. It's time to make a knot, so I thought I would show how I do that so that it's hidden. I'm going to grab the back side to finish this stitch, but I'm not going to finish it through the green, the front side. I snug it up. I'm going to hide my knot in here. I might unpin this just for right now to get this out of my way. I'm just going to dig into the felt a little bit, loop around there and pull it. And that's as simple as that. When I make my new thread, I'll make sure that's buried in there. My knot will start in there and be nicely buried. Okay, I have finished stitching the back side to the front side, and you might have noticed it's a little bit goofy looking here because I trim this last part off after I have it all stitched up, because once upon a time I came up too short. So that's my little secret. So I'll trim that off even with here, and then I'll go search for my little loop that we'll be adding like this. Okay, I found my strip of felt that I needed to make for the hanger. I can't believe I actually found the one that goes with the kit, but it did. And I stitched the front side in first with matching green thread, and I really tacked it along the bottom too, anchored it in there. I hope you can see that. And now I'm just going to use blue thread now to do this side. I probably ought to stick my finger under there and make sure I didn't go through the other felt. It's always a little awkward when I get to this stage, but again, it's the whip stitch. Where I'm going to put this on here. Oh, it's hard to do this. Here we go. Maybe that'll work. Oops. I wrapped it around the felt down here. Whoa. And a bead. And another bead. Okay, I don't want this to get too cattywampus. There we go. The great thing, this felt really binds together with the stitches. It doesn't take much to get a nice solid adhesion, if you will, of the fabric, of the thread. Just pulling those felt fibers together. Now I'm going to pull that back. Oh, these little sequins. Okay. So now I'm going to come back in here and just really tack it down so there's no little lip to catch on, oops, presents that get put in there. You don't want Santa to have any trouble getting things in and out of the stocking, or the kiddos. Hope that's not too close for the camera. And you know, I'm not going all the way through. You can't really see my stitches on that back side, but it's enough to catch it into the felt. I'm nipping just enough with my needle into the felt that there's a pretty strong bond going there. Okay, now I'm going to pull my needle back down here to knot it. It's a little bit easier to hide it down here. I'm going to grab a little piece of the felt, loop into it, cinch it up, and just pull my needle through so I can bury my tail when I cut it. And my stocking is complete.